Greetings! Welcome to our little instructional video on how to apply a texture to a template for working up a prop map in RLC. My name is Daerner. I'm with Anarch Designs. We, as you know, offer shells for finishing, and this technique is required sometimes to get some of the unusual shapes to have the patterns that you want on them. There are various computer programs that you can use to do it. Many people use Paint Shop Pro or Photoshop. They're good programs. They also cost over $100 each. You can also use a free program, Gimp, G-I-M-P, Gimp, Google it, which can be downloaded from the web at no cost. It may not have all the features, but the price is definitely right. Now, when we perform this task, we're going to use Gimp in our example, and we have three different files we're going to use. We have the template file, first of all, which we use. That has the shape that we want, and in this case, this is an arch, which is a common window that we use, and this will be our example. The texture file has the pattern that we want. This is a texture you would acquire. Maybe it's a wood grain for this, or a painted finish, shingles for a roof, whatever. In this case, I arbitrarily picked a texture out of our inventory simply to illustrate the pattern. And then we will create a third working file where we combine these to make the final product that has the texture on the template. Now, the technique we're going to present today is very methodical. There may be shortcuts involved which we do not take. We're doing everything in a very straightforward manner and a very safe manner, because the way we do this, even if you screw it up halfway through, you can't break anything. You can always just erase your working file, go back to the others, and start all over again. Okay, now let's get going. We're going to create our working file. We'll go here, File, a new file. And we want this new file to be 512 by 512. When you work in RLC, it's important to keep your files square in powers of 2, and especially the powers of 2 part. That's how the computer counts, and it loads a lot faster, and you have a lot smoother motion. Typically, we'll use 128 by 128, 256 by 256, 512 square, or 1024 square. 512 is a very popular size. It works well in a variety of applications, and that's what we're using now. Okay, and because we're going to be loading different files in here onto layers, we want to keep track under Windows, Dockable Dialogues, Layers, gives us a little window where we can keep track of the layers that we're working on. So let's start by putting in our texture. Now, when we look at this, we'll notice it's not square, it's not 512 by 512. So we want to change that. We're going to go to Image, Scale Image, and we see, in fact, here that it's 513 by 280. And this little chain here means that they're linked to keep the proportion. If we change one, it'll change the other. We don't want that to happen. So we break the link by clicking it once. And now here we go to change this to 512 by 512, scaled, and we can see how that's nice and square and just the right size. So we're going to load this into our working file. We'll select the entire image, edit, copy, come over to this file, edit, paste as a new layer. We arrange things in layers. Think of them as sheets of paper lying on top of each other. Some of them have cutout shapes in them, like stencils, and we use the assembly to get the finished product which we want. Next, we need our template file. So we're going to come over here. We're going to select all of it. We're going to edit, copy, come back to our working file, edit, paste as new layer again. And we can see we have them layered on top of each other. And if we look up at our Docker window for the layers, we can see the individual layers. We have a background layer, which is the default it comes with. We won't need that. We can get rid of that. Now we have the clipboard, which was the first we loaded, and clipboard number 2, which was the second we loaded. Now we're going to get to the working part. We're going to create a mask. A mask comes from a template. It is a shape, and we use that shape to cut things, to paint things, to copy things. The whole trick to using this program is to learn how to create the mask you want. Now, in this case, we don't want to use the clipboard layer with the texture on it yet. So we'll just look at our template. Now, we want to select everything with a color here. The problem is we have white, we have not quite white, we have kind of gray, we have more gray, we almost have black in there. That's a lot of different colors to select. We're going to come at this from the opposite direction. We have a lot of area here with no color, so that's going to be the easiest to select. We're going to select by color everything which doesn't have a color. You see by the marching ants how everything's all lit up there. This is everything that we don't want. So now we're just going to go back, select, invert. So now we have everything we do want. You can tell by the marching ants how they switched. Now, we've done 90% of the work right now. We're going to go back to our Docker. Let us see the layer that we want with the texture on it. We won't need to look at this anymore. So now we're going to edit, copy, and we're copying that area in our mask, and we're going to edit, paste it as a new layer. Now, if you see the new layer pops up here, let's hide the original texture, and bingo, there we have it. We have our shape with our texture on it. We're just about ready to go. We need to save this. Actually, we export it because we want to export this as a PNG file. The PNG file supports transparency. In this case, I've done this already in the demo, so we've exported it. Now, once it's exported, the next thing we need to do is load the thing in the internet. There are various programs you can use. RLC has one, in Utherverse that you can save your textures in. Some people use Imgur. We happen to use SmugMug. This is our texture in SmugMug. I click on it here and I get my URL. Here they let me choose the size, and of course I want to choose 512 by 512, not one of these other sizes that are not easy for the computer to count. I copy this, and now I go to RLC, which is not here anymore. So I've got to load that back up. This will only take a moment. And while we load this thing, I can close this so I can actually see what we're doing here. And get ourselves logged in. And we'll wind up jumping to the showroom once we're in, because I have a template set up there, sign, to which we can apply our file, and we'll prove that this thing actually does work. And landmarks, showroom, we're on our way. We're getting there. I'm sure you all know what it's like to sit and watch RLC do its thing in its own patient time. Here we are. All right. Here's the sign we got ready ahead of time. So we're going to open Prop Editor, engage the sign. Now, first we need to set it up. We're going to go to a translucent so we can let light through the areas that don't have a texture on them. But now the default is 0, which makes absolutely no sense, because with the translucent, we're saying that we're going to pass light, but then we're telling it to pass no light, and that confuses the daylights out of the machine. The legitimate values for this are 0 to 255. We use 128 typically. It splits the difference and it works well in the vast majority of cases. Now we're ready for our texture. We will load it as a cached web image, and we have that picked up from before, and set the caching to forever. This, once it loads, then it's in the computer memory and it allows subsequent views of your space to go a lot faster. We've created what we want. Here's our finished product. We thank you all for your patience and your interest. If there's anything we can do to help you, feel free to contact us. I'm Darner of Anart Designs. Thanks again and take care. Bye now.